What did you fail at this week? We'd like to celebrate wins, but what if the win was waking up and asking yourself what you failed at? What if failure was seen as part of the process and not the end? Does failure derail you, or does it help you stay on track? That's what we're looking at today.
Got it. Oh, everybody's favorite topic, Bill. Failure.
Failure.
So the whole idea of this topic really came about. It was loser.
I'm such a loser.
I was just doing what I normally do, looking for episode ideas and just articles, interesting things to read, and I came across this article in Inc. magazine about Sara Blakely. I have no idea at the time, no idea who Sara Blakely was, but Sara Blakely started and built the company Spanx.
Spanx.
So that's the women's wear that just kind of helps things look shapely, I guess, or whatever. But anyway, she built that company, and she built it to be a billion billion dollar company, or she's a self-made billionaire. Not the story, but in the story, it talked about that she kind of built her company based on a question that her father used to ask her when she was a young girl at the dinner table on some sort of a regular basis. And the question was simply this: Sara, what did you fail at this week?
Which is an odd question.
I'm thinking, what an odd question for a parent to ask, especially, I don't know how young she was, but it said young girl at the dinner table with her parents. So you got to think probably junior high, maybe high school age, but nonetheless, formative years, parent asking child, would you fail at this week? But I got to believe that the tone that was, because she used that as her fuel to start building this company. Because when she was pitching the idea of Spanx to factories, she got all kinds of no's and declines, and it would have been easy for her to finally say, well, nobody likes this idea, and just have given up, let it kind of just derailed her. But she talks about, like, no, she just kept thinking back to, okay, so obviously this pitch wasn't the right one, and it just fueled her to keep going. So that's what I think what we're going to talk about today is this idea of, is failure final, or is failure something we can use?
Right. So think about the idea. Think about the idea. Absolutely. Absolutely. We want to succeed. We want to excel. We've got big dreams, and maybe we have a little fear mixed in with those big dreams. Absolutely. We want to be successful people. But what if the path to fulfilling those dreams and those callings runs directly through failure, not around it? It runs right into failure after failure after failure. And the problem is, we live in a culture that tells us, succeed, shine, don't fail. But as faith-filled adults, we know that failure is going to happen. We just know that it's going to happen.
Well, I think, I mean, you hear about, music artists, or, movie stars, or, anybody kind of famous, so to speak. You talk about them having this overnight success, but overwhelmingly, if you talk to them, like, their overnight success happened over many, 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 many years of trial and error and failure, and just doing it again, and just doing it again, and just doing it again. And I think that's what we're really talking about here, is like, you can let failure just totally derail you and force you to give up. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But we can also look at failure to say, okay, what can I learn from this so I can make my next attempt to be just a little bit better?
Right. Now,
to the point where now I'm getting noticed. Now I'm starting to see some success build, and on and on.
Sara Blakely, her story is a very compelling story of failure and moving forward. But when you think about it, aren't all the great accomplishments in this world the result of people failing until they succeed, falling on their face until they succeed, blowing it until they succeed?
Sure.
And they just don't quit. And part of the problem that we have in society is people quit too easy. They just give up too early. I'm done.
They do. And I think one of the classic examples is think about Thomas Edison, right? And I don't know if this is it's myth built in to make it better, or if it actually happened. And I got to believe it's probably somewhere in the middle, as all stories like this are. But when he failed at the light bulb, they say like hundreds of times, and they just said why did you not give up? And he said, because it was just one more way I learned how not to do it right.
He discovered a way not to do it right.
Yeah.
So,
and what a kind of an amazing thought.
Yeah, but
or amazing mindset, I guess.
Right. Yeah, he believed that there was a way to do this. I just have to find the right thing that goes in there, the filament.
Yeah, the right order.
I just have to find the right thing. But he believed that it was available. He believed that it was there. He just had to find it. And the only way for him to find success was to fail. Realize, I mean, Jamie, you said hundreds of times. I've heard up to 10. Oh, he failed up to 10,000 times, and I've heard 1,000 times.
Well, maybe it was.
But however it was, he failed many, 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 many times, and he succeeded only once.
Yeah.
But it was all the failures that helped him to succeed.
Yeah. So were they really failures?
Yes and no. Yeah.
I guess we need to kind of define what we're talking about failure here, aren't we?
Yeah. It's how we frame it, I guess.
Yeah.
So we frame failure, or we should frame failure not as an end point, but as a pivot point. You try, you fail, you reflect, and you get back up and you keep going. And we can even talk about it in our walk, our faith in God. There are times when we absolutely blow the opportunity to share the gospel. We fall prey to several different things that we shouldn't fall prey to, maybe. And afterwards, we feel like absolute crap for it. And we should reflect and pick up and keep going.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like how you frame that. Is it a pivot point, or is it a final point, or is it a destination? And I think if we look at it from that perspective, if you allow it to make you quit and never try again, then yeah, I would say it was a failure. If you use that moment of where, okay, I tried something and I didn't get the result I was hoping for, and you use that as a pivot point, or use it as a lesson learned, or however you want to do it, then I don't think you can call it failure. And I think that was the question that young Sarah's father was asking her, right?
Right.
Was, you probably had some things you did this week that didn't turn out the way you had hoped for, Sarah. But I want you to think about those and tell me about them, and tell me, what are you going to do differently this week so you don't have the same result next week?
Right.
Like, thinking of it from that perspective, failure's a part of the process. Failure's actually good for us, as painful as it may be.
And sometimes our failures are very painful, life altering even. But I guess just write this down. Normalize the failure habit. Okay. Failure's going to happen.
Tell me more about that.
What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Just ask, okay, I failed. Now listen, it's not that you plan to fail. It's not like I'm going to fail this week. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you giving it your best effort, and things just don't work out the way you thought they were. You thought everything was just going to be easy breezy and successful, but life happens and you fail.
And I think the key word that you said in that was the idea of normalizing it. normalizing the fact that things are not always going to work out the way that I hope for. And let that just be a normal part of my process to say, okay, it didn't, but what am I going to do now? Right now, let's take that in kind of into a leadership perspective of like for personal success, for your personal growth, for your personal walk with Christ and all of those types of things, being able to kind of recognize I don't want to mess up, but I know I will. But when I do, can I learn from it? That's kind of personal in nature, right? But can we take that and step it into this idea of like, when I mess up, can I actually help others with that?
Mm.
I think what ends up happening is we see leaders who, in church, work, home, wherever you want to call it, they mess up and they try to blame others. They try to cover it up. They try to make it sound like, it's not a big deal. What you make excuses, whatever that is. But think about the ones who actually admit it. The ones that said, yep, I messed up. What it really does for everybody else, it almost creates a bond with them. It almost makes people like trust them more. But it also allows the other people, especially if you're leading a team and you mess up and you tell your team, man, I botched it this week.
Mm.
It actually helps them create some safety for them to know it's okay to try, it's okay to risk, and it's okay if they mess up, as
Yeah,
long as you're willing to, as long as you're willing to learn from it and, admit it, gotta have some accountability
it,
there.
it builds confidence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
and in our Christian lives, failure let failure fuel your faith. Don't let it just be a devastating thing saying, and saying, well, it's all over now. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Let the failures, realize that there's going to be failures. You're going to blow it. Stuff's going to happen, but let it fuel your faith. Let it draw you closer. Let it draw you closer to Christ and not further away.
So what's some scriptures that we can hang this on, Bill?
What about Proverbs 24:16 off the top of my head and my cheat sheet? So Proverbs 24:16. For through the righteous, oh, for though the righteous, there we go. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, but the wicked stumble when calamity strikes.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's exactly what we're talking about here. It's saying, literally saying, though the righteous fall. Like it's just saying it's gonna happen. It's
Yep.
not saying, it doesn't say if the righteous fall. It says though the righteous fall. So it's saying it's gonna happen. But they fall 7 times, yet they rise. They continue to get up.
Yeah.
So, so
It,
it's not failure,
it's
but it's the
it's a rallying cry to keep going.
yeah. But then for those who stumble, it uses, talks about the wicked, but it's saying that, for those who stumble and don't get back up, that's the real calamity here, right?
Right. Right. Just like
So
if maybe not just like, but what if Sarah just decided to quit after getting rejected so many times? The world
we
would not
would
have
not have,
the world would not have Spanx.
I can't imagine a world without Spanx. Whatever.
I know. I digress.
So I mean, I think right. I mean, even Scripture talks about it. I mean, in Philippians 3:13 and 14. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press towards the goal. Right. So it's the same. Again, Paul's talking about I don't worry about the failure. I just keep working towards what's ahead of me.
Yep.
So I don't let the failure cause shame or derail me. I just like it's just part of the process. Let's move on.
Yep. You learn from it and you move on. You don't let it become an anchor. Failure is not an anchor. Final thought. Just one final thought. Do we have a final thought?
We do have a final thought.
And people are waiting for us to say it. One final thought. Failure is never final unless you make it so.
That's Bill.
That's Jamie.